Hello everybody and welcome to another list video here at Playing Board Games. Today I have the next in this series where I ask you, our awesome community, to choose your 3 top strongest cards from each cycle, and then I take the top 5 from all the results to put into here. We have already done Dream Eaters, Scarlet Keys, and Forgotten Age. I think those are the 3 we've done so far. And today we're doing Innsmouth Conspiracy, which honestly was actually a pretty straightforward one, which is no surprise. Innsmouth Conspiracy is a very strange cycle because so much of it was eaten up by the Curse and Bless cards, and the level 0 Curse cards turned out to be pretty damn good. And all the other upgraded cards were just a little bit strange in this cycle, so the power level for this one is actually like focused down to be really low on like the low level cards, which was very interesting to see. Currently in the video description you can find a link to our next survey for this, which is for Edge of the Earth, which is a very strong set, so I'm excited to see how the results go for that one. Go fill this out now. But without further ado, let's dive in and start checking out these 5 cards. I will also then talk about other results from the surveys and some thoughts that might have come up from people who filled it out. So, with in 5th place of our top 5, which is very good considering, we have Deep Knowledge. This is a 0-cost event from the Seeker class. It's an Insight and Cursed. As an additional cost to play Deep Knowledge, add 2 Curse tokens to the Chaos bag. Investigators at your location draw a combined total of 3 cards, and you decide how many cards each investigator draws. This received 15 of the 75 votes that we had for this. We actually had 77 votes, I'm going to be real with all of you, but I had to remove 2 of them because they wrote cards that were not in this cycle. They just wrote their 3 strongest cards, and honestly, more power to you, but unfortunately, that means that you do unfortunately not get to be included in the results for this survey here. So, Deep Knowledge. This is the first of the 3 level 0 curse cards. And I think generally, people agree that it is easily the weakest of the 3. I don't disagree with at all with that, and I mean, we actually have the survey results. Spoiler alert, Foustium Bargain and Promise of Power are on this list. Where are they on this list? I'm going to bury the lead there and not reveal it, but I will say that they are on this list, and, you know, we're going to be talking about them in greater detail further into this video. But Deep Knowledge is interesting, right? Because card draw is good. Card draw wins card games. Having cards in hand in pretty much every card game that's ever existed, cards in hand are good. They allow you to do the things. They are the pieces in which you win the game with, right? They're how you play the game, and they're how you ultimately win the game, right? But for me personally, a lot of my card draw, I prefer when my card draw is, I call it more active compared to passive, which is not really like the best words for it, right? Because passive is something that you can use to describe like Dr. Milan's ability, right? You just passively get +1 book while investigating. Well, +1 book all the time. Magnifying Glass gives you +1 book while investigating. But I call it passive card draw because I'm not actively pushing the game forward. So like I compare this to, for example, Perception, which is just I'm investigating, I'm getting a clue and also advancing the game state. So like when I play the game, Perception basically reads draw a card, gain a clue, right? That's what Perception. Take a basic investigate action, draw a card, gain a clue. So when I look for cards that give me cards, I want them to be on that sort of same level. And while I think that Deep Knowledge is a good card, it's not in my preferred play pattern for how I get cards, right? So I don't play it that much, but I do see a lot of people play it. Travis, for example, plays Deep Knowledge pretty much in every deck that can run it. With that said, I do feel like I see people, Travis included, who sometimes play Deep Knowledge just because it's in their hand. And it's like curse tokens ultimately don't matter, right? We've said this on a long time, like a lot on this channel, and it's going to be very relevant for the rest of this video. So let's take our time to talk about curse tokens here, right? Curse tokens don't matter when you're adding, I would say, 4 in the scenario, right? If you've added, for example, played Foustium Bargain, or Deep Knowledge, or Foustium Bargain, Promise of Power, right? If you've added like 4 to like maybe even 5 curse tokens ultimately will not impact the game, right? They're either going to cause you to fail a test that you were already failing, right? They are going to cause you to succeed by less, like they're going to like turn your up 6 to an up 3, right? You're going to draw like a curse token into a -1. Or yes, sometimes they do cause you to fail, but those are like the minority, right? I would say that on average, when you trend it out just based on feelings and no actual like mathematical analysis or scientific analysis to this, I would say that like of those 4 curse tokens you put in, 1 causes you to fail a test, right? That you otherwise would have passed. Just vibe-based, right? But then the question with that is, do you ask yourselves, am I getting enough value out of those 4 curse tokens for me to put them in there, right? Deep Knowledge, 3 cards, that's a lot. That's a good value. I would take a failed test for 3 cards. I'm sure a lot of people would. I would take a failed test for 5 resources. But when you think about it, if it's the 1 and 4, it's kind of doubled. So it's like, would you fail 1 test for 6 cards or 10 resources? It becomes a lot easier. The problem is when you start going above that 4 to 5 curse tokens in the bag throughout the campaign. Then it starts failing a little bit more and you start to lose even more value. This matters even more when players are doing it without actually needing it, right? Like when you only need when you take the cards just because you want the cards. You take the resources because 9 looks better than 4, right? Deep Knowledge and Foustium Bargain, and obviously Promise of Power, have great symbols on them for committing on tests as well. So at a certain point, I prefer the play pattern, at least when it comes to it just being like, do I really need to put this, take this action to put the curse tokens in to draw these cards? Is it really going to win me the game? Am I behind? Do I need to do this? Because like Deep Knowledge and Foustium Bargain, I think, are at their best when you are setting up or behind. But they become really bad when you are parity or... I mean, parity is fine too, because parity is kind of setting up for the game. But I think they become much worse when you are ahead, right? Even partially ahead. Why take more when you can just like continue to push the game, take your card draw through other effects or like upkeep phase and just like win the game and then just get value that way, right? Like get it earlier in the game. So I feel like there's a little bit of a push-pull that comes to Deep Knowledge there that I think is ultimately very interesting. And I think that Deep Knowledge, the reason why I think it's the weakest, and I'm sure other people maybe don't realize this but subconsciously do, is that ultimately it's the one that feels that you feels like you're going to need to play the least. Card draw is also already so good. Resource generation up until Innsmouth wasn't great. Foustium Bargain is what made resource generation good when it came out in Innsmouth Conspiracy. But I think ultimately what happens is that, like when you see some people playing an asset on turn 9 of 12, some people are doing a Deep Knowledge on turn 9 of 12, when if we just like righted the ship, it probably would have been okay. It's like wasting time. Great for setup, and I think that's ultimately why I still think it's a very good card. Easy top 5 from Innsmouth for me as well. But I think that's why it received less votes than anyone else. Okay, I went on a bit of a ramble there, but I think we had to have a lot of context for talking about curse tokens because we're going to be touching on those a lot later in this video as well. Okay, let's go to number 4, and I think we're making history here with our first investigator in this series. Amanda Sharp. Let me read what Amanda Sharp does, shall I? Because people might not know, and she just has this here. So Amanda, 17 of 75 votes. She has 7/7 soak, all 2s for her stat line. Her ability is Forced. At the start of the investigation phase, draw 1 card. Discard the card beneath Amanda Sharp, choose a card from your hand, and place it beneath her. As a reaction, at the start of a skill test you're performing, commit the card beneath Amanda Sharp if able. Do not discard it when the test ends. Her deck building is 30. Seeker 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5, Practiced 0 to 3. She has a signature and a weakness that don't really do too much, so I'm not going to talk about them here. Amanda is a very very strange egg, isn't she? So what Amanda has going for her is that her ceiling is very high. I would argue that her ceiling is the strongest in the entire game, right? Like, sorry, the highest in the entire game. And also, by nature of that, the strongest in the entire game. A big reason for this is that when you understand what you can do with skill cards, and then what you can do by saving actions moving to just use those skill cards multiple times, it becomes very ugly. For the game, like ugly for the game. From your perspective, it's beautiful, right? The other thing is that when you are really good with Amanda, those 2s don't mean anything. You're going to be investigating like a normal investigator at 7, 3 times a turn, and drawing 6 cards in the process. This is absolutely insane, but it's what Amanda Sharp is capable of. I have not seen an Amanda Sharp deck that I have piloted crash and burn. It's absolutely insane what she is capable of. Do I think she is the strongest card in the set? So I have a little bit of a personal dividing line where I don't view the Investigators as the strongest card in the set because, for example, Amanda Sharp is only good in an Amanda Sharp deck, right? But let's just say, for example, Foustium Bargain, or from last week's video, the last video in the series, Lola Santiago. Lola Santiago is good in a wide variety of decks. While I don't disagree with Amanda Sharp's placement in this list video, I do think that for me there is a difference between the two. But I'm not surprised that she's here. She is very, very, very strong. Contrary to what Bryn says, having all 2s in the stat line, but as we always don't say with Bryn, we don't know if he's trolling or not, but, you know, he's having a great time doing it, which is what's all that matters. But she just continues to get stronger, too. Enraptured 2 was just printed in Drowned City, which means that, well, there was a deck that I played with Daniel. We did all curses on Quick Learner's channel, which you should check out, by the way. And I played an Amanda deck with Cryptic Grimoire, and I drew, on average, 5 to 7 less Mythos cards throughout the entire game. And if I had Enraptured, that would have been 8 to 10 less Mythos cards, which I don't know if you know, but means pretty much win the game on the spot, right? That's crazy, right? And I think that that is just one of the many things that Amanda Sharp can do with Enraptured 2, which is part of the reason why she is so powerful, is because she can take so many different things and just get extra value out of them. It's kind of like Silas Marsh, but Silas is obviously a lot weaker than Amanda. Still very strong, but a lot weaker than Amanda. Skills are events that are very powerful, but you only can play them once, and there's a chance that they do not work, right? Amanda just kind of brute forces that, and she's like, even if I fail one of these tests with this, I have 3 more of them, or 2 more of them, right? Sometimes even 3, depending on what the deck you're playing with her is. She's a very powerful investigator, and I'm not surprised to see her here. All right, number 3, we have Ancient Covenant with 36 of 75 votes. This is a 2 experience survivor asset, Covenant and Blessed, permanent limit 1 Covenant per deck. As a reaction, when an investigator location resolves a Blessed token during a skill test, exhaust Ancient Covenant, do not reveal another token as part of this effect. This card has been tabooed to be only when you do it. Only for you. That is the taboo for this card. Which I think is a good change. But I do think that Ancient Covenant is a little bit too strong. And when I say a little bit too strong, I think it's a lot too strong. In my personal rankings of Innsmouth Conspiracy, this is, in my opinion, the strongest card from the cycle. I don't think that this was true before Hemlock Veil came out. I think that Ancient Covenant was a good card and a very nice piece in a lot of Blessed decks, right? But Ancient Covenant has received a lot of tools to make it have a better... 1, Blessed tokens are easier to put in. 2, you have more control of the tokens that you draw. There's a large variety of ways. a large variety of ways added to the game now. And 3... the payoffs for revealing symbol tokens have gotten better. There was a taboo list. It's honestly probably a few years ago at this point. Time is an illusion. It's fake. But there was a taboo list where like Voice of Ra, Ritual Candles, and then like a few other things that are probably more impactful and that were made it so that they were symbol token as opposed to only specific symbol tokens. And they've carried that through in the design of other cards. And since that has happened, Bless has received a big payoff. One thing that if you played when Innsmouth came out, Curse was very good because Curse tokens were a cost, right? So they made your effects stronger. As we saw with Deep Knowledge, that's a 0 cost card, and the cost of that card is the 2 Curse tokens. We're going to see that again with the last 2 cards on this list, Promise of Power and Foustium Bargain. Those are the costs of the card, and Bless tokens, they didn't really have that. They were like, while like, this is going to sound like I'm saying the same thing, right? The Curse tokens on Foustium Bargain were the charge of the, like, were the cost of the card, right? But the Bless tokens on Keep Faith, for example, were like extra charges on the card. So you had to pay extra for those Bless tokens because that was the effect of the card. Because Bless tokens helped you pass tests, so they were like, we're going to be harder to put in, and they're positive, curses are negative, they're going to be the cost. Unfortunately, as we know when this happened, it kind of just like caused problems where curses were undervalued, Bless tokens were overvalued, and then I would say when Hemlock Veil came out, they kind of met in the middle and they were in a much better place. Curse was a lot less ubiquitous in the sense of how it was compared to Innsmouth Conspiracy, and Blesses were able to be put into the bag in a way that didn't feel like it was too much of an extra cost. There was the Ancestral Token card, which was very nice for doing that. So it allowed Ancient Covenant to see a surge. I'm ranking these videos for my own personal rankings, and I imagine everyone is too, based on their play and their card collection, right? So for me, Ancient Covenant is the strongest. Why? Because it takes out a lot of tension of the game, and it does so at a rate that is just too good, right? It's permanent, so it's always in play, and it's just very easy now to get going, right? You can do like Parallel Father Mateo, you can do Kohaku, you can do Olive McBride, there's the new Katarina Sojak, I think is her name, like she can do this as well. There are just a lot of ways now to dig out tokens, like Favor of the Sun as well saw a huge boost. Favor of the Sun already was one of the main way that you triggered Ancient Covenant on demand, and it allows you to now like do that for even more value because there's more payoffs to them. I think the biggest thing though is that just that I think it like crowds Bless design and anything that has to do with Blesses, because everything else just, in my opinion, pales in comparison to what Ancient Covenant can do. Disgusting card, and I think it's unfortunately at this point now the card pool, I mean, it's going to rotate out, so I'm very curious to see how they do like current and legacy with this kind of stuff, but if I had control, I'd probably make this card forbidden. But I don't have control, and that's probably a good thing. Not probably, it's definitely a good thing. All right, number 2, we have Promise of Power with 39 of 75 votes. This is a Mystic skill, commits for 4 wilds, practice Cursed. After you commit Promise of Power to skill test, add 1 Curse token to the Chaos bag. If you cannot, take 2 Horror instead. So this card is very good. It's probably my most played of the 3 Curse cards that we have in this video. The big reason for that is because it's good. It's just like passing a test is really nice when you need it. You can use it offensively to advance the game state, to kill an enemy, to pass. There's usually like an effect on a scenario card that's like test Brain 3 if you pass, place a clue on this ally. If there's 2 player clues on this ally, advance, right? This helps you do that more consistently, but you can also use it defensively in the Mythos phase. So much so that I've actually like stopped playing Ward of Protection and I just play Promise of Power instead. It's been like that for a while, and it's going to probably continue like that until it rotates out. I love Promise of Power so much. What I also like Promise of Power is I think it does a good job of teaching new players just how good skill icons can be. I saw this with Eric, where Eric, after playing Promise of Power for a campaign, was like, holy hell, this card's really good. It just gives me +4. It basically reads pass a test, which is really good. There's not, like, I was going to say there's not too much to say here, but there is something interesting to talk about, like, for the design of this card. Sorry for rocking the boat. And the idea with this is that you can see why this is how it is, right? Where, in theory, this is just unexpected courage, right? It's not it's very rarely an unexpected courage now, albeit I have seen it when you've added the only curse token with Promise of Power and immediately drew it. But it's like the idea is that eventually this is just an unexpected courage overall, right? But I think ultimately, as we saw with curse tokens, and I talked about here how like they don't really affect too much, that math didn't check out, and Promise of Power was just a little bit too tuned up. But they were working with a new mechanic, and that's why Hemlock Vale had a lot better working with the Bless and Curse, because they had a whole cycle underneath them to see how things sit, which I think is the benefits of like having ARKHAM for as long as we have, and hopefully for longer still. Final card here, should be no surprise if you've been paying attention to this video. Foustium Bargain with 41 of 75 votes. Zero cost event. As an additional cost to play Foustium Bargain, add 2 curse tokens to the Chaos Bag. Investigators at location gain a total of 5 resources distributed as you wish. I'm not going to kind of retread on a similar ground of why this card is so strong, but like Deep Knowledge, it is a huge surge of goods to the players, to the teams. Distributed as you wish is very powerful. Do not overlook that. And it's just at a rate that is incomparable. We now start to see it be more comparable with something like Bank Job that just came out. But I think that ultimately it shows that this was like the shift where it's like, hey, we want rogues to get resources. And then I imagine after seeing people play with Foustium Bargain, they were like, this is a good rate. We'd like the investigators getting, like the rogue investigators getting, for a cost, 5 resources at level 0, right? Like that's kind of like where we like it to be. But they then probably were like, okay, but we need to tune it a little bit better than we tuned Foustium Bargain. And I think Bank Job is a good example of that. I also think Grift is a very good example of that. Overall, I've been playing this card less. And the main reason for that is I play two-handed a lot. So I know what my resource is between my 2 teams. If I was going into blind, I would bring Foustium Bargain more, right? But like if I'm playing two-handed solo, and I know I don't need 5 resources, but I need 3 resources, I'll get Emergency Cash 2 instead. But I think Foustium Bargain is, well, like I said, Ancient Covenant was my number 1. Foustium Bargain or Promise of Power would be my number 2. So I am not at all surprised to see it here. Card is pretty nutty. It's pretty good. And I can't see it getting bad. It's always going to be incredible. It's always going to be very, very good. All right, let's talk about some other things that almost made the cut. So, Breaking and Entering got 9 votes. As we remember, we started this with, well, what did we start with? Deep Knowledge with 15. So that was the next closest. And actually, nothing else was really flagged there. Unrelenting had 10. So Breaking and Entering and Unrelenting were the next 2. Trish only got 2. She did get some honorable mentions from a few people in the comments, but I think that this is was a pretty easy top 5 from our community. So I'm going to just read some comments here. I feel like the potential of benefit downsides of Blessed Curse tokens wasn't tested. Yep, I agree with that. Honestly, Innsmouth might have the most deck warping cards in the game. The Curse level 0 set are all auto includes. To the point that I bought a cheap deluxe box to get extra copies. Ancient Covenant is a straight up design mistake. Unrelenting is, I mean, I agree on Ancient Covenant. I don't think it was a design mistake then. I think like Ancient Covenant is a design mistake in hindsight. I think when it first came out, it was a pretty good payoff to Bless. But the problem is when all the other payoffs started to get stronger, that just became like problematic. Help me, I'm stuck in a Microsoft Excel hell. There we go. Unrelenting is also just stupid. I mean, Unrelenting I think is totally fair. I think it's unfair in Silas, but I don't see how that card is like... I got 10 votes, and I think that was just because of Silas stands. Ariana's Twine lets you do stuff that the game shouldn't allow. Overall, just a nutty expansion. I don't agree with that statement. I mean, I think Ariana's Twine is a good card, but I think that actually, apart from the level 0 cards and Ancient Covenant, I think this is actually a pretty low-powered expansion. And I think that's just because Bless and Curse weren't really cooked up that well. They came out of the oven a little bit half-baked. The set really overestimated the impact of Bless tokens. Skeptic is my favorite thematic card. It is. There's so many that's just like Foustium, Promise, Ancient. Ancient Covenant is probably the only card I would advocate for being on the ban list. Yeah, Forbidden. Yeah, this person basically just said in a video. I should have just read this. This person voted Amanda, strongest investigator in the game. I agree. Don't think there's a strong third option. They voted for Deep Knowledge. Skip draw cards. 0 cards like your Guardian, draw 3. It is true. I actually agree with that statement. If you're using it on other people, especially in Seeker, and you find your card draws in other ways, I do think that increases the power of Deep Knowledge quite a bit. Curse cards go crazy. Imagine being scared of curses. Yeah. Don't make me say it. Don't make me say it. If you wrote a comment in this video being like, no, curse tokens cause me to fail, just get out a tally sheet. And then, like, that's what I did, especially for Bless tokens. How often Bless tokens don't cause you to pass tests? They have about the same rate, it turns out. This is the first set that's actually been an investigator on the list. I also just think it's hard to compare a card whose strength relies on playing other cards. I agree! You person, you're in my brain. You went with Ancient Promise Faustian, yeah. I will die on this hill. It Unrelenting is the best card in the box. Honestly, I'm proud of you for dying on that hill. While I don't agree, I fight for your right to defend it. Trish sold me on the Rogue. I mean, Trish is very strong as well. Very strong investigator. But it turns out investigators are just strong in general. Honorable mention to Riestrad, underrated kill spell. I agree. Should we do a video? We should do a video. This exact same series, but underrated cards. I think that would be a good one. And then I take the ones that got the least vote because they were underrated. All right, thank you everyone for filling out the survey for this one. I do really appreciate it. As I said at the start of the video, there's one now for Edge of the Earth. So if you wanted to check that out, you can do so by going to the video description and filling out that survey. That one will be out next month. So in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a good one. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing, and as always, GG's.